Good morning. Sunday morning. Oh, God. Welcome to my version of Bedhead. I had to actually make an entire list of things to talk about this morning because, I don't know, a week's worth of news seems to be happening every 6 hours. Okay. Where to start? By the way, this is the Collapse Experiment. Welcome to my channel. If you like this bit of information, like and subscribe, because I'm trying to do this at least 5-6 days a week. And I've been doing more than one video per day, and it's getting interesting. It's already interesting. Let's get to it, shall we? All right, so we now have confirmation that there are bioweapons labs in Ukraine. If you go back 9-10 days ago in my video library, you'll find where I talk about a guy that was shut down on Twitter because he looked at where the U.S. funded, operated, run biolabs in Ukraine were located in the country, and it seemed to be all the places where Putin was directing his forces to invade. Weird, right? And it was only a few years ago where Putin was saying, hey, I don't like the fact that you have this stuff in our border, get rid of it. And the U.S. ignored him. Then we end up with this weird corona pandemic thing. Yeah, that couldn't piss anybody off to the point where they would just go and invade another country and make sure that shit doesn't happen again. So, yeah, some dude had his Twitter shut off and post taken down where he's showing maps and overlaying stuff and goes, this is interesting, and it was deemed to be misinformation. And it didn't even take 6 months. It was, 10 days before it was confirmed? Wow. Those conspiracy theorists, I don't know what it is about them, but they seem to have an idea as to what's happening. Oh, here's another conspiracy. Biden released the infamous 20th hijacker from 9/11. Sent him back to Saudi Arabia. Because, the Saudis weren't involved in that or anything. So that he could receive mental treatment for his mental health issues. Because when you are trying to fly a plane into a building, there's probably something wrong with you. So, yeah, and then I have to bring this up because I didn't think it was this bad, but Twitter is less than 10% of the population in the United States. Less than 10% use it, all right? Usually it tends to be journalists, celebrities, politicians, all giving each other a nice circle jerk in the thread. And there are people now saying that if he was the 20th hijacker, how is he still alive? And I'm glad that there's the internet because I'd be in jail right now for slapping the shit out of people. People are just prone to making comments about stuff that they know absolutely nothing about. I'm going to say if what they knew about 9/11 was a number, it'd be in the negatives. They somehow think that because he wasn't on the plane and he didn't die, he somehow wasn't involved in the plot. Okay. So not only did we release this guy to Saudi Arabia for obvious reasons. I mean, we're talking to Venezuela, Iran, and Saudi Arabia about upping their oil production so that our gas prices aren't affected by the Russian ban on oil. So we're appeasing these guys who are constantly committing crimes against humanity. And yeah, the Saudi prince is not answering the phone when Biden calls, refusing to talk to Biden, even though he got what he wanted. I don't even know if this guy wanted this dude to be released. I think it was more of a panic. Um, it was a Hail Mary throw on Biden's part. Like, maybe if we send this guy back to Saudi Arabia, they'll work with us. Because I'm looking at the Saudi prince and I'm like, this dude was probably like in elementary school when 9/11 happened. Like, I don't think that's really on his radar as like a significant event. And yeah, so instead, Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, uh, they're talking to Putin instead. Awesome. Yeah. So Biden's getting nowhere with those two. Um, we're handing over terrorists who, except for COVID, committed the biggest act of terrorism in the United States. And yeah, I do believe that the lockdowns and the policies involved in treatment and prevention of the pandemic was a terrorist act. So uh, we'll just go on from there. Okay, so the news stated Poland was going to be offering, MiG-29s to Ukraine, and then Poland came back and said, no, we're not. And then Biden came back and said, well, didn't you know you're getting like new planes from us? Yeah, we're giving you F-16s, and you can get rid of those old MiGs. Just send them into Ramstein in Germany, and then we'll ship them over to Ukraine. So it's not you, it's us. And that takes the burden off of you, even though Russia's probably planning on invading Poland too. Yup. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, in the meantime, everybody knows this, but I'm just going to say it anyways. Biden banned the import of Russian oil. However, part of the ban was that any purchases that have already been made, there's like a 45-day time period where those shipments can still come in, which is hilarious because Putin said, yeah, we're not exporting anything effective immediately, and this is going to stay in effect until December 31st. So not only did Putin beat Biden to the punch by saying we're no longer exporting anything, yeah, he even put a stopgap on that 45-day time period. He's just like, nope, not you're not getting shit. So yeah, other things that I learned recently was there was a guy on Twitter. Now, of course, Twitter is not exactly like the most. Well, it's more trustworthy than the White House. I will say that. Like, if some random dude posts something, I have no reason to trust somebody on Twitter. But I have less reason to trust the White House. I'll put it that way. He was saying that his sister works for some trade group who's now speculating that with what happened yesterday, by Thanksgiving, gasoline will be somewhere between $10 to $13 a gallon. I'm going to go shit myself now. Okay. Yeah, don't go in there. So, yeah, $10 to $13 a gallon. Another funny bit of information, I do think it is pretty funny, is that there's speculation that Putin somehow they're figuring out that Putin has terminal cancer. They think it's like bowel cancer, maybe some Parkinson's, but I haven't seen any evidence of Parkinson's disease. And the whole thing with him having cancer is coming from the fact that his face appears poofy and he never smiles. Here's a guy who is former KGB. He's done some shit. He's not exactly someone who, in dire situations, are going to show their emotions. He's a black belt in judo, therefore he's got a pretty good poker face. Then they're going back to like when he was talking with his people in a boardroom. He was sitting at the end of a very, very long table, trying to say that with him getting chemo, he can't risk getting sick. I'm sorry, but if he's running a war, he's constantly in rooms with people. Constantly. He's looking at maps, he's talking to his generals, directing people as to where to go, unless he handed that over to somebody else. The other thing that came to my mind was there was a couple photos of him where it didn't even look like him. So I would not be surprised if people do this all the time, body doubles, where he's got somebody else acting as him in public while, he's in Siberia with his family in an underground nuclear bomb shelter / city, just in case. Yeah, so that was my first thought. I don't know how our people ended up going straight to the cancer thing. But yeah, I would not be surprised if there's a body double running around who's directed to say certain things and can't let people get too close to him because they might notice that he didn't just pack on some pounds. It's really not him. Just saying, sometimes this shit isn't hard. Sometimes you overthink things. Yeah, so that's where we're at. Last night, gas was still $4.25. I'm not convinced it's going to stay that way today. I'm thinking it might be over $5 by the time I go to work. All things considered. And that is about it. That is the news for today. So yeah, just to summarize everything, Saudi Arabia is screwing us over. Again, a bunch of idiots on Twitter don't know what 9/11 is, or understand it, or know any of the details or anything about it. I'm guessing a lot of these people weren't even alive when it happened, so I don't know why they're even running their little digital mouths about stuff. And we're handing over warplanes to Ukraine. And Jack Prosobic, I don't want to skip this. Jack Prosobic, he's got a theory that the bioweapons labs are going to lead to the excuse that we need to have a no-fly zone. So that's probably going to happen in order to secure these sites and make sure that they don't end up in Russian hands. Oh no. It's only Russia's only the number 2 country that still has smallpox existing in a lab situation. I mean, they don't need anything that we're making in a lab. They could just release that and most of the world would be screwed because smallpox has a very high mortality rate when compared to other diseases. Yes, there is a vaccine, which only military gets, and I don't really see Pfizer pumping that out soon enough to stop that disease. Good times. Good times ahead. Stay safe and keep on typing.